appreciate you coming and spending a few minutes and discussing this with me, because there's a whole bunch of people like you who, just a number of months ago, you were in the spot of considering, am I going to continue on in the career that I've known, or am I going to do something different? And your experiences will help those folks think about what's best for them. So I appreciate you spending a few minutes and sharing about your
It's
story.
my pleasure. It's been a pleasure working with you and going through the process. So I'm excited to share a bit more with your network.
Thank you. Thank you. So, well, Lisa, first will you tell our audience a little bit about your background, your corporate background?
Yeah, sure. So I spent basically 27 years working in accounting and finance roles with various levels of responsibility. Most recently, I was a chief accounting officer and an interim CFO, and just responsible for a broad base of finance, IT, accounting responsibilities. And it was a really big role. It was really impactful to the organization, and I really enjoyed it.
And I know you enjoy having impact on
Hmm.
all the various stakeholders that you interact with. So it's interesting coming from that successful, impactful career. As we talked about, you kind of reached a point though where you started to question, well, what do I want to do in my next chapter? Do I want to keep doing something similar, or do I want to try something different, maybe my own business? So can you talk a little bit about just what was that about for you? Kind of what were your whys for wanting to explore having your own business?
Absolutely. I kind of teetered wanting my own business for a long time. So I would say there's several drivers. One is my husband is an entrepreneur. He has had his own business for, gosh, 20 plus years, and supporting him through that. It was the ups and the downs, the good and the bad. And so I really enjoyed being part of that with him. And I wanted a taste of that myself, right? Being my own boss, making my own schedule, answering to myself, maybe to him. He says he answers to me a bit. So having that freedom of sort of, what do I want this to look like? What are my personal financial goals? How do I, and my business goals, right? And so I think that was one driver, is just kind of having an entrepreneurial spirit, watching him. And then also another big driver was the flexibility of it. I'll say a bit more. We live in a small town. We moved here by choice during COVID. We wanted to retire here. There aren't a lot of big corporate jobs for me here. I didn't really want to move. I didn't really want to relocate. So what could I do? How could I find something that would be impactful? Going back to our previous thought, be impactful to my community, to the where I live, and really support that area, as well as be fulfilling and new and different for me.
So some lifestyle
Mhm.
considerations, continuing career success, but being able to frankly live where you want to live. It
Live
sounds
where
like.
I want to live, not travel all the time. It was important for me. Like, I did not want to be, I was driving 2.5 hour commute to get to the office, and having to stay overnight and be away from home. And I just really wanted to have that lifestyle that was, closer to home, and just be able to be here and really be present. Because Leslie, I was working that 2.5 hour, 3 hour away from here. So I wasn't really present in the community that we've lived in for 4 years. How could I be present in this community, impactful to this community, and still achieve some career success?
Well, drum roll, Lisa. Let's talk a little bit about, so you've chosen a business, you're in
Yep.
business
Yep.
now. So I kind of have two questions embedded in one here.
Okay.
First, I want us to tell our audience about your business and
Mhm.
what you do and for whom. And then I want to talk a little bit about why you chose it. And the spirit of my question there is, we looked at a lot of different businesses, some that had absolutely nothing to do with what you've ever done before, completely different, but aligned with some of the goals that we've talked about, yet very different.
Mhm.
Some other options that had some resonance with your past career success. And we went through this numerous week journey, several month journey
Mhm.
of,
Mhm.
I was curious, what's Lisa going to choose? Is she going to do something completely different, or is the better path for her something that will be new, no doubt
Yeah.
about it, but still it has some synergies with where you've come from. So I'm going to stop talking and please tell us about your business and your decision path.
Yeah, absolutely. I chose Schoolie Mitchell, which is um, based in Canada and has been around for 20 plus years. We focus, I should say we now, we focus on saving money and protecting profits. We have a phrase that we are the profit keepers. So we focus on and bring value on in four different ways. So we save money, of course, that's one of our main objectives is to save you, our client, money by reviewing certain expenses and auditing them and coming up with where there might be errors in what you're being billed, where you might not be using something that you're paying for, but you didn't realize that you were even paying for it, or you just forgot to turn it off at some point. And then most importantly, probably is we do a market study and we say, are you getting the best value for your money? And are you getting the best services for your needs? And we do that and we do this on a contingency basis. So you don't have to pay us unless we find savings, and then we share in that savings. So we save you money, time. We bring confidence to the fact that you're have the right services and paying for the right things. And then we bring a knowledge base. We have a database of over 30,000 customers that we've serviced and have the ability to just bring that knowledge, that pricing power, to you, our client, who may not be able to have that same pricing power.
So it sounds like you're working with businesses and plugging the holes. Is that a good way to say it? That
It is
there's
a good way.
different areas that money just leaks out of a company and accounts payable is paying it and they're not even paying attention. That
They're not even paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, Leslie. And you don't have time. So let's choose you as an example. Your core business is franchising and supporting, consulting with potential clients and clients to get them through a process and to get them to a point of making a choice one way or another, right? You are not focused on what your phone bill looks like or what your trash service is or whether or not your credit card services are appropriately billing you. You're not doing those things. So we bring this value of auditing that for you, making sure that it's correct. And then, like I said, bringing that market view of, are you getting the best services you can? And it really helps you because those are not the things you need to focus on. You need to focus on selling, business development, and any small business owner or medium-sized business owner needs to be doing that. So it's really trying to take off the pressure from you of having to deal with this and really just bring a value to you.
And also, I'm as you're speaking about that, I'm thinking, think about the opportunity cost of those dollars, that it could be deployed into more hiring or more marketing to benefit the growth of the company instead of it leaking out of the holes.
Yes, and that's one of the things I talk with clients about is, what are the pain points for you? And then what could you do with that money if you had it, right? Could you give a raise to someone that you haven't been able to? Could you have a holiday party? Could you, invest in a new machine for your business that will help it to grow? And again, the opportunity cost also, like you said, of just your time. Your time is better spent out selling business development rather than doing this. So it's kind of twofold. How can you reinvest those funds in your business? And then how can I save you that time and effort?
Lisa, let's talk a little bit about what made Schoolie Mitchell the winner for you. So we also looked at a sign production business.
We did.
We looked at a personal care business, completely different options. And I remember there were things you liked about all of them, different things that you liked.
And staffing. We also looked at a staffing
business, right?
Staffing business. I liked them all for different reasons, to be honest. Every one of them had a component or two or five that I thought this could be really attractive for whatever reason, whether it was because it was a licensing and not really have a lot of, royalties and franchise fees, whether it was that it could be, semi absentee ownership, and I could maybe go back and get a corporate job or do another business. Whether it was the flexibility and ability to, and the portability, what I could say, right? We may not, we love it here. We may want to live here forever, but we may also want to move. My family lives in a different state. Do I want to move near my aging parents? So for me, in the end, this one, Schoolie Mitchell in particular, came to the forefront for me almost from the beginning for two reasons. One is, as an accounting and finance professional, it really resonated with what we do. I felt like the product that we sell, the service that we sell, was something that resonated with me, and I could articulate to clients. I could have some credibility with clients because I have a past experience of being in their shoes and making tough decisions about costs and allocation of funds. And so that really resonated with me. And yet it's totally new, right? I've never done business development. I've never been out on the online researching companies to figure out, who should I approach and why. And I've never worked in a franchising model, right? So even just the franchising model itself was new and different. But so it was attractive because it had something old and something new, right? I just need something borrowed and blue. But it was something, hey, I get this, I understand this. I'd actually heard of Schoolie Mitchell through my prior life, and what they do and who they are. And so that really resonated. But then okay, so that's great. I don't want to just do something that I've done before because it's a crutch or it's safe or it feels like that. It doesn't feel like that, right? It feels very exciting and new, and gives me a renewed energy towards learning and growing and being, just in a different role than I've really ever been in before.
I'm gonna be excited to catch up with you in about a year, Lisa.
Yes,
We'll talk before then,
of
but
course.
just to see, how much you have learned and the skill sets that you're going to learn by virtue. You're leaning on past skill sets that are going to help you learn new skill sets. So I'll be really excited to catch up a little bit more down the road and see how you feel that you've grown as a business professional through what you've learned.
Yeah, I really think that that's what was attractive about franchising in general, but this one in particular was, I love to learn. Anyone who knows me knows I'm always reading. I'm always, looking for that next project I can do to learn and grow and develop my skills. And like you said, I think this one is really giving me an opportunity to develop skills I've really just either never used or don't even have, right? So I get to develop them from scratch.
That's right. That's right. And actually, on that subject of learning, I have one last question for you. You were very thorough in your due diligence. You were very methodical and thoughtful and didn't leave a stone unturned. And so how did you get to the place of, in the spirit of there is a lot to learn and there's things that you don't know. Yes, there's some resonance in some ways, but there's a whole bunch that's going to be very new to you. How did you get comfortable to move forward? And I'm kind of talking about your due diligence process here, but if you would speak to that, how did you get to the place where, like, yes, I believe I can do this and I'm going to do this. This is the next path for me.
So I spent a lot of time researching all of the companies, of course, reading their FDDs and doing those types of things, but spending time with their head offices, with their franchise development people, and really trying to understand the businesses and understand their processes, the way that their system works, the way that they operate, and also to understand them culturally. What was their culture like? Because while I'm my own business, I'm aligned with this business, right? And I wanted to make sure that who they were and how they operate was something that I culturally felt comfortable with. And I spent quite a number of hours on the phone with existing franchisees. I think that was one of the most critical steps in my diligence process, was just speaking to them, asking them questions, understanding from them, what was it like to be new? What is it like now that you've been in a while? I talked to people who had been in from as short as 6 months to as long as 9 years, varying levels of success and opportunity with the business that they've taken advantage of. And so I really got a good feeling, honestly, Leslie, of the what I felt like was the good and the bad and the ugly, so that I wasn't going in surprised, right? I think starting a new venture like this just takes time. It takes effort, and it takes time to build it and to make it, be what you want it to be. It's not an overnight success. And so I think I went in with my eyes wide open, and that diligence really, I wasn't afraid to say or ask, what went wrong the first few years, what went right the first few years, what if you could go back, and I could learn from you and benefit from this, if you could go back, what would you do differently? And the franchisees were surprisingly candid. They were, and I appreciated that, right? I was lucky that, and it also spoke to again the culture of Schoolie Mitchell, right? They were honest, they were transparent, and they, I had one, the most important comment to me was, this is one of the 9-year people. He said, Lisa, everyone asks me if I'm happy that I made the decision today. And I say, yes, I'm happy 9 years in that I made the decision, because it's running, it's operating, it's achieving my personal goals. He said, but the question you should really ask me is, how did I feel in the first 2 years? And he said, it was a struggle. It was adjustment. It was new. And I just really appreciated the candor. And they all said that in some way, but the way he said it, it was like, that you can be very successful at this if you want to. Here's how I've done it. But just keep in mind, it's going to take some ramp up time.
Yep. And all the learning curves that we've talked about that you'll be going through. And,
Right.
Your comment is right on point in a number of ways, that people are pleasantly surprised typically at how candid franchise owners are. You have to, ask the uncomfortable questions. And I think what you'll find most of the time is that those franchise owners were in my shoes and your shoes at one time, asking those same questions, trying to make a good decision for their family, for their career. So most of the time, people, as you say, will tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you need to hear that. And you need to hear the challenging parts as well as the wins, to make sure that one is okay with what's to come in the early part of the business.
Absolutely. I think it's that being prepared, right? So you're not caught unaware, and am I really ready for this next step? Because it is very different than going and getting another corporate job who's going to give you a paycheck, and they're going to have benefits, and they're going to have all these things that check these boxes that you're used to. I mean, I worked for 27 years in a corporate America world, so I was very used to a certain amount being deposited in my bank account every couple of weeks, right? So I think it was very, I really appreciated how transparent they were. And I agree with you. I think everyone that I talked to had a very transparent, experience with talking to new franchisees, franchisors talking to new franchisees.
Well, I'm very excited for you, Lisa. Very happy for
Yeah.
you. I think this is, I appreciate you sharing your story, and, particularly the part of how, you chose something that is old and new, and how that was the right path for you. It lands very differently with different people. Some people want a completely different something or other.
Yeah.
Others loved what they were doing and want to bring the parts that they liked into it, while at the same time, as you said, having more flexibility, more control, and to have your own business. So I'm glad that you found this best of both worlds in your
I
choice.
hope so. Yeah, we'll
Yes.
see. When we talk in a year, we'll see if
When we talk in a year. Exactly.
like we said, I'm very results driven, so I'm trying to give myself grace to enter into this new venture, and give myself the time. But I'm very excited about the opportunity, and it was wonderful working with you, and I really appreciated your guidance and advice throughout the process, because I didn't even know where to start when I first called you. Like, what do I do? I didn't even know if I really wanted to do it. That was one of our steps, and that really appreciated. I really appreciated that effort that you spent with me to to even just figure out if I was a good client for you, and if I could, if I really would be a good fit for franchising.
Lisa, I wish everybody was like you. And how thorough, and I mean, you're an A+ student, but I'm sure you probably knew that already.
Well, I'm a studier, right? I like to learn and I like to know what I'm getting into. And you can't ever know everything. I would say that, right? Having just come back. So I had the advantage of training for a week and then having about 3 days and then going to the annual conference for Schoolie Mitchell. And that was both a wonderful experience and a mind bending experience of having both of those events like right back to it, back to back. But and I certainly learned new things about it that I didn't know, from my diligence. So you have to know that there's going to be things you didn't ask or didn't do, but overall, if you ask the right questions, you'll make a good choice.